Okay, first off, let's not pretend that this website layout isn't just clean, beautiful, it's alluring, captivating. Look at these perfumes. They look like they just fit to take you on a wild ride. Beautiful layout. Everything is just seamless, very stunning. The way the visuals are, the colors, the saturation of everything. Just some good, stunning work. We are here on the website of Pomares Stolen Perfume. Story goes, I grew up on a farm surrounded by the great northern Maine woods. So when spring hit, there was nothing more rewarding than the smell of thawing earth and spring grasses. My mother's family was from Tahiti, so during long winters I would fantasize about what the warmth would smell like. As I got older, I discovered that most things in a bottle captured none of these aromas in the way that I had imagined it. This is how I discovered natural perfume and began making tinctures and mixing oils and resins. Working as a wine director and sommelier, I have been fortunate to taste and smell incredible wines from all over the world. This reinforced my passion for terroir and desire to celebrate regional and seasonal differences in natural perfume ingredients. In wine and perfume, I believe in small batch production with little intervention as possible. I think that nature has plenty to say if we're willing to listen and get out of the way. My goal is to showcase beautiful ingredients that offer aromatherapeutic benefits to the wearer that bloom on the skin with a soft graciousness. I have been lucky to study and be inspired by the great alchemist perfumer Mandy Aftel. However, I am heavily inspired by winemakers like champagne maker Irv Justin, who believes that everything is energy. When your perfumer is this excited and this enthused about creating these fragrances, it makes you want to get your hands on one of the bottles even faster. You want to see that enthusiasm and that joy placed into a bottle and sent to your house so that you can experience it yourself. Again, this is Pomares Stolen Perfume. Got a package that came in the mail today. Isn't this just beautiful? Gorgeous packaging. I mean, this is so her. Let's get into this. Open this up here. And we are met with a card here and a stunning presentation. Everything is packaged really nicely. So we have a note card here with the fragrances, their profile, and what to expect from these fragrances. Here we have our fragrances underneath this little foliage here, very neatly packaged. Comes here in this wrapping paper, which I think is pretty cool. I always think that's a really cool touch to add to your fragrances, to have your own wrapping paper. And we have 5 fragrances here to check out. We have Lightning in a Bottle, Piano Tuner, East of Eden. I want to say this is Beulah, as well as Tar and Roses. We'll come back in separate videos and go over each one of these fragrances separately. I want to take my time, spend a little time with these. Spray right here. And I actually want to just get my first impressions on this. Out of the gate, I'm smelling something that reminds me of like almost like a celery, like a vegetable sort of a vibe. Almost like a roasted vegetable. Something comes off slightly spicy, almost like there's maybe a tobacco. There is a extremely faint sweetness that kind of holds everything up. It's extremely faint. And I mean, just it's so like just clean sweetness, but it does this back and forth. I'm getting this really almost salty and savory and spicy. It almost comes off like a bright and sort of uplifting broth. There's a little bit of like this tobacco-like spice that's going on. There is something that comes off floral that sort of keeps it from teetering too much on one side, too much to the other. There's a soft, but like dark, powdery, spicy musk kind of a vibe that comes in. There's something there that comes off like a melon, but it comes off like a salted melon. I feel like I'm getting sweet components that are giving off savory. Like it's it smells like there's like a melon or something like that that is there, and it's giving off, it's like this background of, it used to be sweet and it's turning more savory. It's getting a bit more spicier, getting a bit more sticky. There's something in here that comes off like a pepper, like there may be some peppers present. um Something coming off like pimento or like a red pepper. Is something in there that's giving me that vibe. So I'm gonna come in and I'm gonna refresh this, and just look at how slightly translucent that is, and how it just has like this really dense sort of look to it. I love that. Mm-mm. It's just like this. It's fruity but not sweet. It's like a savory fruit. Got this peppery sort of a vibe going on. There's like a floral component that's sort of lingering around and sort of just adjusting everything just slightly and keeping everything from going too far in one direction. There's an extremely creamy but muted level and faint level of sweetness that's coming in and sort of balancing some components that could lean too far in one direction. It's giving it a lot of movement, giving it a lot of different facets. As it sits and settles down, it sort of balances out. It's super unique. There's nothing I have in my collection that is like this. As this fragrance begins to settle down, it begins to balance out. You're getting like this really soft floral that comes in, sort of blankets everything. The savoriness that I was catching in the beginning starts to make a little bit more sense. The savory component kind of has that sort of vibe that people would normally attribute to a pickle. Whenever I see that depiction, it's usually a sandalwood or santal that's involved. There's a bit more of a dry, slightly resinous, but really balsamic, woody vibe that starts to come up a lot more as this fragrance dries down. It becomes a bit more smoky as well. Let's take a look at the notes, see what we got. This fragrance has notes of pink Tahitian guavas, atafel mangoes, star jasmine, pink magnolias, local greenery via Venice, pink, red, golden champaca, incienso rojo, which I want to say translates to red incense, sangre de grado, which I want to say translates to blood of dragon or dragon's blood, Sik Oud, which is like a Malaysian oriented oud, and lastly, Mysore sandalwood. So the floral component that I was catching is that star jasmine, the pink magnolias. I was catching a little bit of those, and it seemed like it was coming in later in that dry down and blanketing everything, sort of balancing everything out. It was showing up a little bit in the beginning as well, but it was really faint fleeing. You were getting so much spice and you were getting so much of that savory and salty, almost broth-like depiction in the beginning. It was super concentrated, super balsamic, so it was a little hard to read. The melon-like vibe that I was catching, or something that felt like it was sweet and was turning savory, was the guavas and the mangoes. The peppery aspect that I was catching should have been attributed to the red incense as well. As this dries down, this is a good time. In the beginning, it is challenging. It comes off almost, like I said, broth-like, like a savory roasted vegetable, like almost. You get like a hint of sweetness, and that's what keeps you there. And the floral components kind of dancing around throughout that depiction. It's what keeps you there. And then that dry down. The dry down is what just grabs you and pulls you in, and you just want to keep smelling it. You're getting like this back and forth dance of that sandalwood, the soft sweetness from the guavas and the mangoes, and that soft sort of lingering, this really pretty vibe from that pink jasmine as well. Those components dancing around back and forth, and it's just a beautiful, natural smelling, but dense and heavy hitting fragrance. This thing smells like a sweet and salty sunset. I knew I wouldn't want to go over more than one fragrance in this video, because just it's so many things that's going to happen and transpire. You don't want to just be rushing through the fragrances. This is just my first impression on this fragrance so far. The ride on this one is a wild one. So far, I am stunned at the presentation, stunned at the composition. I am very impressed with just her eye and her approach to making fragrances. Making fragrances the exact same way she would approach winemaking, which is beautiful. I love the thought process in that approach and just the way you will treat fragrances. Wanting to do as little to it as possible and allowing it to do as much as it wants to do on its own. I am extremely impressed by this so far, and I cannot wait to get into the rest of these fragrances. Pomares Stolen Perfumes is the name. I will be dropping a link in the description where you guys can check out the website for yourself, check out their sampler set, check out some of their presentations, hit her up on Instagram, chit chat with her, and she'll definitely inform you on the fragrances, on what's to expect, the ingredients, the process. She's wonderful. And that is it for this video, you guys. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and I will catch you guys soon. Peace.